Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Gentoo, your source for all things gaming and tech related. I'm Aaron James.
And I'm Wesley Bertha. Let's jump right into this week's up-and-coming releases. You can see these games and many more released throughout the week on your favorite platforms.
After a lackluster week of one new game last week, the release train is back on track this week, starting off with a game that will have you thinking everything is awesome.
The LEGO Movie 2, the video game for PC, Xbox One, and PS4 on February 26.
This is obviously the video game adaptation of the new LEGO Movie, and it includes all of your favorite characters from the film. Join Emmett, Lucy, and Batman for a new LEGO video game build-a-thon adventure.
Trials Rising for the PC, Xbox One, PS4, and Nintendo Switch on February 26.
After a near 5-year wait in between Trials Fusion and this title, Trials fans will finally be able to hop back on the bike and work their way through some motocross-inspired puzzles.
Trials is a series infamous for the amount of frustration it brings to its players as they navigate their bike through treacherous terrain on Ubisoft and community-created tracks.
Outward for the PC, Xbox One, and PS4 on February 26th.
In this medieval fantasy RPG, you don't play as the chosen one, but you play as an ordinary human, but that aspect will only make the journey even more rewarding as you travel through landscapes, slaying monsters, and completing quests.
And finally, Dead or Alive 6 for the PC, Xbox One, and PS4, March 1st.
The first Dead or Alive game on this generation's console looks to bring its classic fighter feel into the future with upgraded graphics, new fighters, a new story mode, more stages, and even more deadly combos.
These games and many more will be releasing throughout the month, so be sure to be on the lookout for them.
Up next, check out Aaron's analysis with Aaron.
Hello, and welcome back to Aaron's Analysis, where I talk about some games I've played that have left an impression on me, whether good or bad. Today I'm looking at Horizon Zero Dawn. The first open-world game from Guerrilla Games seems to have found the formula to produce not just a great game, but an open-world game that spoke to everything I could want in the experience. But what are the components of that formula? What makes Horizon Zero Dawn so engaging? As I began to draw closer to the game's end, I started thinking about those questions, wondering if I could pick out elements that set Horizon apart, and I believe I have managed to pinpoint a few elements where the game excels to me, in a way that few open-world games do. A while back, I watched the NoClip documentary about Horizon, and they mentioned that when structuring the game's story, most of the focus was put on the main plot, with secondary focus on the side quests, and only a little effort spared for making errands. What this created was a very strong through line for the main plot, and a gripping, cohesive plot is the primary thing I play games for, and generally, the single weakest area in an open-world game. Tying into the first point, there weren't actually that many side quests or errands, and each one had some story to it. It was never just a guy standing around demanding I bring him 120 rat scrotums. A lot of open-world games fall back on the MMO-style fetch quests and somehow take pride in forcing 10,000 puddle-deep checklist tasks on the players. As someone constitutionally incapable of playing a game without trying to do every task in my journal, that gets really tiresome really quickly. Horizon was also never scared of its story. So many games seem almost ashamed of having a narrative, like players are only there for the gameplay mechanics and all these thoughts and words will just get in the way. But Horizon Zero Dawn was never like that. I remember on the second or third dungeon was when I realized that there had been almost no enemies for me to deal with. Instead, it was going to be about immersing myself in the visuals and the atmosphere, tracking down data points, and just learning about the plot. It was amazing, and left me looking forward to every new opportunity to explore the game's setting. But eventually, one does need to fight enemies. It's just how most game worlds work. I remember recently playing Skyrim, not the most challenging game by any means, and thinking how simple the combat system was. Fire a few arrows poorly, then spam attacks until the enemy is dead. But with Horizon, rather than just unloading into amorphous damage sponges, each enemy is almost like its own mini-puzzle. Watchers just need a little patience to pull off eye shots, while Thunderjaws require Terrablast arrows to strip their gear until they're rendered harmless. And Storm Birds can be handled with a rope caster and tons of sticky bombs. Thanks to difficulty settings, you also don't have to worry about there being too much challenge, as I was playing on normal difficulty and that was playing hard enough for me. And there's enough variety to keep each combat encounter seeming fresh, while the encounter rate isn't so high that they wear out their welcome. Finally, I think the factor that ties all the huge things together is the size of the world in Horizon Zero Dawn. These days, games take so much pride in being huge, with no real regard for what that does to the play dynamic. I don't want to spend an hour trudging between one objective and the next. I want every part of the game to feel like a meaningful, curated experience. The area covered by Horizon finds a sweet spot between large enough to be considered an open world and small enough to really be experienced. It means that the balanced amount of content in this game, including the number of side quests and errands, the enemy encounter rate, and the impressive visuals, have enough room to be comfortable without being spread out so much that they lack cohesion. Horizon Zero Dawn is big enough to feel authentic and engaging, but never so large that it feels like a chore. Of course, that doesn't mean the game is without flaws. Every game is going to have problems. For instance, I hate fighting Scorchers from the DLC, because they exist to exploit every weakness I exhibit with the combat system. And certain characters like Varl suddenly take on a lot more meaning than the previous interactions with them seem to warrant. But they were never big enough problems to distract me from my enjoyment of the game. Horizon Zero Dawn is a wonderful experience, and I'm almost sad that it can only be played by people with PlayStations. I look forward to the sequel, even though I'm sure I'll have to wait until the next generations of consoles to play it. Thanks for listening to Aaron's Analysis. Next up, we have Monkey Plays with Cody.
What's up, gamers? My name is Trevor. Welcome back to another episode of This Week In, that segment of Gentoo where I talk about game stuff. You listen to me talk about game stuff, and we all have a good time listening and talking about game stuff. Cue the intro. Wait, you didn't make an intro? Ah, fuck. This week, I'm talking about The Outer Worlds. The Outer Worlds is a new single-player, first-person sci-fi RPG from Obsidian Entertainment and Private Division. Lost in transit while on a colonist ship bound for the furthest edge of the galaxy, you awake decades later, only to find yourself in the midst of a deep conspiracy threatening to destroy the I don't know how to say this word. Halcyon colony. As you explore the furthest reaches of space and encounter various factions all vying for power, the character you decide to become will determine how this player-driven story unfolds. In the corporate equation for the colony, you are the unplanned variable. Wow, if that doesn't sound like a perfect summary of a game that I want to play, I don't know what does! Okay, listen up people, this game is made by the original developers of Fallout. If this game is any bit as good as it sounds, I'm really hoping it's basically just Skyrim with guns. The Outer Worlds is featured in Game Informer's issue for the month of March, and it's jam-packed as always of all those juicy little details. My job is to summarize my thoughts in this next minute or whatever amount of time I have left, so let's get into it. Okay, so like everyone else in the world, I played the absolute out of Skyrim. Fallout, on the other hand, was never really my thing. I tried to get into Fallout 4 and I just couldn't do it. Here's hoping that this game makes up for it by wrecking my life as much as Skyrim did. I pray to the old gods and the new that this game is as good as it looks. See what I did there? Okay. Moving on! The Outer Worlds, on the surface at least, seems like the kind of game that will make up for recent entries falling short on quality, yet having no limit when it comes to microtransactions and predatory monetization practices. You know, cause that hasn't been a problem in the games industry at all. The game seems to be on the path of blending dark humor, you know, my favorite, with character drama and social commentary. Based on what I've seen so far, the game is looking quite promising, though in this day and age, I'm certainly not gonna hold my breath. Game Informer's feature piece describes a world that changes to what you do and who you choose to be. Loading screens will feature in-game faction propaganda based on your hideous deeds or heroic triumphs. Interaction with NPCs will leave longtime Bethesda players feeling right at home. Players will have the chance to bring along companions, which will surely add to the dialogue experience. I'm hoping for banter similar to that of Dragon Age or Mass Effect. The Outer Worlds does not feature classes, so players will be able to choose skills based on what they think is interesting to them for their particular play style. Once again, The Outer Worlds is Game Informer's feature for March, so expect mini gameplay videos to release next month. Be sure to stay tuned to KNWT Channel 8. Well, that does it for this weekend. My name is Trevor, and I will see you in the next one. Peace!
Welcome to another edition of Game Breakers. I'm your host, Wesley Burton. This week, if you couldn't have guessed it because I got the Bears hat on, we're going to be playing Madden Ultimate Team to be exact. And I'm going to be playing kind of as the Bears, but I have my own players. So you guys see when we get into the gameplay. But I'm really excited to bring this to you because what's a gaming show? What's a gaming anything without playing Madden, right? So let's get into it, guys. So you see my team is a 68 overall, so this should be a pretty tough game for us. I don't expect to win this game, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try, right? So what you're going to see early on, Madden Ultimate Team really starts you off with a really bad team overall. You're going to see my defense is just absolutely horrible throughout this entire game. So you can see, like, on this first possession, it's really easy for them. It's really easy for them to carve up the defense, and they basically did that the entire game. But because of the low overall of the defense, that means that everyone is really slow, everyone can't catch, and no one can tackle. So basically things that the defense is supposed to do, they can't. As you see them get a big play over the middle and set themselves up perfectly for the first touchdown of the game, and it's Roethlisberger to Juju Smith-Schuster. But our offense our offense, guys, I'm really excited to talk about. We have so many weapons on our offensive end. It's almost unfair. But he's definitely not one of our weapons. But I'm still excited, guys. We have Edelman, Jones, Rice, and Roethlisberger at the helm. But we don't go to him. We go to our tight end, Selleck, on the sideline. And we're ready to capitalize on that, but they force a fumble, and we're able to recover it just in time to show off our offense as we get a pass over to Julio Jones into the red zone. Now we have the opportunity to get our first touchdown of the game, and it goes to Jerry Rice. And we're back on defense, and Ultimate Team is pretty fun. But our offense is still unstoppable. As you see, we get an easy pass into the red zone, setting us up for an easy touchdown to tie the game at 14. And you see the next possession, we get a tough pass over the top heading into the fourth quarter, setting us up for another touchdown opportunity. But instead of going for the field goal, we go for the 2-point conversion, and we are able to convert. And we are able to win the game on the field goal. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Game Breakers. Make sure to tune in next week. We'll be playing my team on NBA 2K19. Wait, the game's supposed to be yo. No, are you serious? Oh my gosh.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Monkey Plays. This week we're taking a look into H1Z1. H1Z1 is a free-to-play battle royale game for Windows and PS4, and it was developed and published by Daybreak Game Company. H1 is one of the earlier, and if not one of the first true battle royales of the genre, so I'm excited to check it out. So let's start with the good. There's a lot more good than bad in this game. The first thing I liked about H1Z1 was that they had a practice combat arena to get familiarized with the game. I thought this was nice because it loads you in the game quickly and you can respawn as many times as you want. This feature was very helpful because I was new to H1 and the combat arena helped me learn the game mechanics. One of the next things I liked about H1Z1 was the shooting range. The shooting range contained every gun, ammo, and throwable in the game. You can aim down a field of multiple targets or shoot at players, but you can't kill them. This feature is really nice because you can go in before you start playing and warm up your shots. Or for me, because I was new, I got to shoot every weapon, even at players. So I was able to get a feel for the guns I liked, their recoil, range, damage per second, rather than experimenting with all that in a game. I think this feature's missed out on a lot of battle royale games out now. Driving vehicles in this game was super fun to me. Each had their own characteristics, handling, and movement, which I thought was super cool. Jeep turned better than the rest, but could flip if you're going too fast. The cop car handled all around better and had a pretty good top speed compared to the rest of the vehicles. The four-wheeler was by far the most difficult to drive, and I flipped it numerous times playing. The truck just gets you to point A from point B, nothing too special. There's also a turbo in this game for all vehicles, so if you get stuck in the storm, the boost could help you save your life. Also, if you're trying to get some air, there's some makeshift ramps and hills located throughout all the map. The middle ground. Movement in this game is weird. Last week I mentioned how in Blackout I didn't feel as fast as it should be, and I said that because it was a Call of Duty game, a fast-paced shooter. We have to look at H1 differently because of how the game is played. H1 is more loot-oriented and you need to play in a strategic manner since you can't just slide or run away quickly. I also didn't like not being able to jump over things. Also, I can't change controls, so I had to crouch with B, which I haven't done in ages. Flying. Flying in this game is horrible. It's probably its worst aspect. I didn't understand the parachute system and barely got to any significant location, let alone more than 100 yards. I also like how we didn't jump out of something and were just placed in the air to fall freely. And finally, the last dislike of my experience in H1Z1, looking for players. Looking for players was really boring. The movement was so slow that you can't travel around fast and vehicles are kinda hard to come by if somebody has already taken them. I spent most of my games looking for people, finding one, killing them, and then going back to the adventure for looking for somebody. While looking for people was boring, when the map finally got smaller, I had a lot of fun in gun battles, even though I died a lot. My overall experience of this game was super fun, honestly. It was different from all the Battle Royale games I played, and the slow playstyle felt kinda good. Even though the movement, flying, and actively looking for people was boring and something I didn't like, I still managed to have fun every game I played. Whether I was training or in an actual game, I had fun in all the vehicles, flipping the four-wheeler and going off land ramps, and the gunfights. The gunfights were super satisfactory, even when I lost them. I'll definitely give this game a 6.5 bananas out of 10. Thank you guys for watching, hope to see you soon, and up next we have Project Delta with Dalton.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Project Delta, where this week we've got a super powered episode. Alongside me, Dalton Speece, I have
Wesley Bertha.
And today we're playing some Crackdown 3 with our favorite character in any game ever, Terry Crews. He's playing Captain Jackson, and his voice in this game is just, it's dreamy, it's fantastic, it's everything you could ever want from Terry Crews in a video game. And so I brought Wesley along for the ride because when I mentioned Crackdown, Wesley's eyes just lit up and I could see the fire in his eyes, that he was really feeling like playing this game today. So Wesley, what's your experience with the Crackdown series?
I've played this game. I played the first one and the second one quite a bit. I never owned an Xbox, but I always played this at my uncle's house who had it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, it was always fun to me. I always liked it, but yeah, I was really excited about this one because I didn't think they were going to make another one for a while because it's been a while.
It has been a hot minute since Crackdown 2 came out. And so Crackdown 3, the story of this game, it takes place 10 years after Crackdown 2, and the agency is going after an organization known as Terra Nova, who they've taken over New Providence, and now the player must take over several spots throughout the city to help destroy the organization and release the hold that they have over the city. And so, yeah, Wes, we've talked about your experience with the Crackdown games, and obviously we talked about how you play as Commander Jackson, or there's a whole lot of other agents. There's, so in the intro to the game, you are driving around, it's all your agents are coming to the city to attack, and then your ship just gets vaporized. And so a ton of agents die, and you're left with only 4 agents to choose from. But you can scavenge throughout the map to find the DNA remains of your compatriots, and you could just kind of hook them up to the computer, like a little USB drive.
That's cool, yeah.
And they're alive again. It's really cool. It's like the cloning we should have,
That's pretty dope, yeah.
So yeah, I think this game's really fun. it kind of reminds me of like the Saints Row vibe because it's got cars in there, but I don't care about the cars at all. Yeah. I can see, it's just like I can jump around in jetpack, and it's got good enough movement. What do you think about the movement in this game?
I think it's pretty, Crackdown-y. I don't really know how to explain it. It is kind of, I played Saints Row the third and the fourth one, and it is kind of similar in the kind of the locomotion with jumping around, flying, and everything. Yeah, but I think it's pretty cool. I mean, it's not ineffective. It works for the game. It's very campy, unrealistic game, so it makes sense that you can do these type of things.
Mm-hmm. Of course. So obviously, you've talked about how you play as Terry Crews, and I want to know, in anything Terry has done, what are some of your favorite Terry Crews roles?
Well, of course, there's White Chicks.
Of course, that's a fantastic one.
That's the famous one. But there's this movie called Idiocracy, and he plays the president. And
oh yeah, I might remember that film.
It's an amazing film. It's probably his best performance comedically. Honestly, everybody wants to say White Chicks because everybody's seen White Chicks, but that movie's really good. Was it Owen Wilson? Luke Wilson? I think it's Owen Wilson. He's in it, and yeah, I think he was just he was Terry Crews basically, but he was more Terry Crews.
Yeah, Terry Crews is the kind of guy who he could have fun and laugh at himself. He knows he's just this huge human, and he's just kind of like a mammoth, and he just flexes on everybody, and it's like his thing, but everybody enjoys it. So personally, you're getting run over by a train.
What just happened?
Uh-oh. So one of my favorite roles that I've seen Terry Crews in is I'm a big fan of Everybody Hates Chris.
Yes.
It's on Hulu, and I like to watch it just to go to sleep because it's a show from my childhood that I enjoy watching. And of course, he's the dad who, whenever Chris spills a cup of Kool-Aid, he comes up and says, "Hey, that's 10 cents worth of Kool-Aid, and just like chews him out. So he's really stingy. And you know, speaking of being stingy, Crackdown 3, after like I put a few hours into it, and I just don't think it's a $60 game. Like downloading it, it was 13 gigs, which is pretty small for a title. And I've always been an Xbox guy, but I just have to bow down and say, like, Xbox just doesn't have the exclusives that PlayStation does. You know, there's so many great games that PlayStation gets, and Xbox gives us Crackdown 3, which is it's fun and enjoyable. But I just don't think I'm going to get as many hours out of it as I think somebody who has a PS4 could get out of something like Horizon Zero Dawn.
That's very true.
And I know you're a PlayStation guy, so you've gotten to play some of those games.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Last of Us is a great exclusive. I'm excited for part 2 of that. There's also Uncharted series. Those are always fun. Man, I don't know. I think PS4 is just better. I think it's pretty obvious. You know?
I mean, my Xbox plays games pretty well, but I need some good games to play on it, you know. But I'll just stick to the big AAA titles that comes out on every console.
That makes sense.
But yeah, so you've had just this little bit of time to play with the combat and the movement system. What do you think? Are you thinking it's really? In my time with it, I thought it was really smooth and just like fun to play. Like we were talking, you're in a vehicle now, but they're not necessary to get from place to place. You can get anywhere really fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the gameplay itself is pretty cool. The combat system is pretty interesting. The guns are pretty cool. You can like do stuff like, oh my gosh, wow. I don't know what that is.
Uh-oh, he's got a big old shield.
Jeez. Yeah, but no, the gameplay is really cool. Yeah, it kind of has the same arc as like a Crackdown, how like it was not serious in the initial parts, but it wasn't nearly as campy and kind of surreal as this one is, you know?
Yeah. One part of this game that I think is really interesting is it's kind of a big old collectathon. I know last night when I was playing, I was kind of a little bit OCD. Every time I'd see those green agility orbs across my screen, I just have to quit whatever I was doing and fly around to go pick one up, just because it was just that rush of getting a new orb and increasing my agility so I can jump higher, run faster, sprint longer, you know, all those fun things. And it's just, I don't know. You just got one right there, and I have no idea why I need to get all these orbs, but I just feel in my soul deep down somewhere that it's necessary that I do.
I understand that because I'm starting to get the same feeling, honestly.
Yeah, you just like see, there's another one right there. It's addicting. I think I've become addicted. Thankfully, there's no microtransactions to buy more orbs, because I might get addicted to it.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of money.
But yeah, there's I think I've seen there's roughly 750 of those orbs in this game. So no small task for any achievement hunter to partake in. But I'm sure it's a fun time. Wes, are you a big achievement guy when it comes to video games?
Oh, well, fun fact, I've only 100% one game, and that was Batman Arkham Knight. So.
Oh, but that's a good game.
It's a great game. It's a great game. The rules are tough, so.
All right, Wes. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming out and enjoying some destruction with Terry Crews in Crackdown 3, and I'd like to thank everybody, of course, for tuning in to another episode of Project Delta. I've been Dalton Spees, and this was
Wesley Bertha.
We'll see you next time.